Activist and former All Nagaland College Students Union president says negotiations have not generated any solution but only set back the progress of the society. Theory appeals to public to raise their voices as talks have been going on for 25 years and yet it is back to square one. With a concord decision of all the Gaunburas and unit presidents under Sumi Kipimi Kukakulu, Sumi Hoho inducts Nito Zimomi as the SKK president. Zimomi, former vice president of all Sumi Students Union, takes over as president of SKK as resolved and directed by Sumi frontal organizations. Chang Baptist Lashong Tangyen and Sumi Baptist Akukuho Kukakulu organizes exchange program on NPCC's clean election movement under the theme My Vote, My Future at Surohoto Town Baptist Church. Attending the event, Pastor Dr. Wong Do-ching Mak points out major downfall of Naga's corrupt practices of election. Following a series of raids on Tuesday, the Enforcement Directorate on Wednesday seals the National Herald office, putting forth instructions that the premises must not be opened without prior permission from the agency. Additional police force deployed outside the Congress headquarters in the National. In a major raging, 9 leaders including former BJP MP Babul Supriyo sworn in as ministers in Mamata Banerjee-led West Bengal government on Wednesday. Incidentally, the move comes in a backdrop of removal of senior TNC leader Partho Chatterjee from the cabinet over his alleged link in the West Bengal school job scam. During the ongoing moon sensation, Rajya Sabha passes the National Anti-Doping Bill unanimously by voice vote, while Lok Sabha clears the Central University's Amendment Bill 2022 on Wednesday. Meanwhile, the Personal Data Protection Bill 2019, which alarmed big companies, withdrawn by Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw. Hello, it's 7 o'clock. This is Nltv English Primetime with me, Chipen Kung. First story tonight. Former president of All Nagaland College Students Union and social activist Teja Theory, while addressing the 43rd Foundation Day Com Tikri Toppers Felicitation Program of ANSU on Tuesday, Theory called on public to raise their voices on the hampering progress of Naga political issue and to raise on occasions for the greater cause of the state's interests. Theory advocated on the constraints and questioned the impediments of or by key players of the state, which has yet to bring a solution other than a string of meetings among the negotiating parties. Reiterating about the matter, the activist held that the government of India, which initially began the negotiation, appears apathetic to dissolve the Naga issue anytime yet. Theory was of the opinion exorbitant tax payments to the 16th faction is equally responsible for the stagnant growth of business in the state. Sumi Hoho, with a concord decision of all the Gaunburas and unit president under Sumi Kipimi Kukakulu on Wednesday, inducted Nito Zimomi as the president of SKK at Sumi Hohoki. Notably, Nito Zimomi, who is now the then vice president of all Sumi Students Union, took over the office of the president of SKK as resolved and directed by Sumi frontal organizations. President of the Sumi Hoho, Niketo Zimomi, stated that the Sumi Hoho nor the executives in personal has any grudges or issues as such towards the SKK, but rather strives forward to bring the Sumi community together as one. Niketo Zimomi also advised the Students' Union under SKK, assuring them that they are the future leaders who would chair the position he is at. President of Sumi Kukami Hoho, Kashido Yaptomi, also expressed his heartfelt congratulations towards Nito Zimomi for attaining the office of the president of SKK. While addressing the masses as the new president of SKK, stated that the decision taken by the Sumi Hoho had nothing to do with his personal benefits, but rather to bring unity among the Sumi community and to stand for the community, regardless of any situation that might arise in the future.
Simyak bove monan, simyak hamlavane, hakaki shmonan, ikemo, kutbo kabz, simki purano, mlanani, itanani, pianapi, shanapi, nyungutisvegi bukumka. I give you, aksamonu, Ajaja givimonu, Ajaja samonu. Anna, Tishana sim shocking down, Nunga putwan. Lagana mona, Shulagana monamu, Alhona, Atzala hippo.
Chang Baptist Loshong Tangyan and Simi Baptist Akukuho Kukakalu on Wednesday had an exchange program on Nagaland Baptist Church Council's clean election movement under the theme My Vote, My Future at Suruhodo Town Baptist Church. Pastor Chang Baptist Church Timabur and Chang Baptist Loshong Tangyan, Dr. Wongdo Chingmak, in his speech stated that one major downfall of Nagas is corrupt practices of election whereby votes, assault, alcohol and drugs are used. Dr. Wongdo also asserted that many hands are bound by these evils and that one should wash their hands and purify the minds for clean hands and for clean votes. Secretary CBLT Reverend Achu Chang, while also speaking on clean election, expounded on the strategies CBLT has adopted to go about with clean election. He added that the churches from CBLT will have no commitment with the candidates in the name of the church buildings as such, and also to have guideline leaflets on do's and don'ts of clean election, and furthermore give campaigns during vote casting urging the voters not to sell their votes.
The churches have known and now have been observing that if we continue in this way, the collapse of our Naga foundation is imminent. It is pertinent to note urgently that one of the root causes of our downfall will be the evils of election. These evils that all have known are use of corrupt money, purchase of votes, or for that matter, selling of one's birthright, proxy voting, use of alcohol and drugs, and many unwanted acts. Many hundreds of hands are deep inside the dirty bones of these evils.
The strategies that we are planning and we have begun also is working together with the civil societies. So as we begin our first meeting, we invited the Chang Athletes Police, the Chang Tribal Council, student leaders, women organizations.
All India Federation of University and College Teachers organization organized a protest at Jantar Mantar, New Delhi on Wednesday. The protest was held as a sign of resentment against the National Education Policy 2020. The organization conducted the protest under the slogan Safe Education for All and vehemently rejected the NEP 2020 in its present form. All Nagaland Government College Teachers Association has come out in support of the All India Federation of University and College Teachers Organization demanding withdrawal of the new Education Policy 2020. AIFU-CTO, in light of the issue, will be holding a Dharna at Jantar Mantar, Delhi on August 3 under the slogan Safe Education for All. Major reasons for rejection of NEP included Central University entrance test, 4-year undergraduate program, fee hikes, scrapping of MPhil, seat cut in PhD, and regulations for study webs of active learning for young aspiring minds regulations. Job loss for teachers. AIFU-CTO in its statement is demanding implementation of Right to Education Act from EECE to PG level. Public spending on education at a minimum of 10% of the GDP, regulation for absorption of ad hoc and temporary teachers, filling up of vacancies of both teaching and non-teaching posts on permanent basis, removal of PhD as a mandatory condition for promotions, immediate implementation of 7th Central Pay Commission scales in Punjab and Himachal Pradesh, grants of incentives for PhD, MPhil and other higher qualifications, scrapping of NPS and restoration of pension scheme for all. The Rongmai Naga Students Organization has extended its full support through a press statement. The organization has collectively agreed to endorsement of the 24-hour total shutdown from 6 p.m. on August 3, 2022 in support of all Tribal Students Union Manipur. The total shutdown is to be carried out in all Rongmai inhabited areas of Manipur until demand of Atsam is fulfilled. The shutdown is imposed on Tamenglong and Nona districts as well. RNSU has appealed to the General Secretary or the general public to kindly cooperate with the Atsam. Three sepak takraw players from Nagaland who participated in the 35th edition of International Sepak Takraw Tournament, the Kings World Cup in Bangkok, Thailand, returned to Nagaland and were received with great warmth by their family, coaches and members of the Dimapur District Sports Culture at Dimapur Airport. The players, namely Visi Koso, Akamtila and Sisovelo Duzo, returned with gold and bronze medals respectively. Visi Koso from DGP sports team, who is also the captain of the Indian men's team, won the gold medal in men's regu event, while Sisovelo Duzo and Akamtila, both from the Department of Youth Resources and Sports, Nagaland Girls Academy Dimapur, won bronze in the hook takraw event. The tournament commenced from 23rd July till 31st of July. In light of these players' achievements, the coach stated that these players were also preparing for the Asian Games. However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the event has been postponed for next year. The Dimapur Deputy Commissioner Sajin Jaiswal was also present as the players were welcomed, and he also congratulated them. DC claimed that this sort of achievements by Naga folks are a big feat for a small state like Nagaland.
Last year December bra start kurine tate continuous 3 months kurise after inia kurne 10 days break paigine gorde ekbar aise aru jaigine 50 days inia continue man 5 months training thagise inia jaigine ami han all to Asian Games nimide this year September de thaigule tha ase tu karne ami han preparation kuri thagise to Asian Games to postpone next year ho jaise September de ho jaise to itu this championship to ahi jaise tu bra eman game thagine ami han itu participate kuri ase
tai khan laga itia ko nisna tai khan India came there 5 months together they were there, and they are so hard working, and Mr. Vise also, as we said before,
The Shamador Sports Council conducted the second day of intensive trials for the upcoming Nagaland Olympic in all sport disciplines on Wednesday. Notably, the Nagaland Olympic and Paralympic Games 2022 is set to be held from August 22nd till 27th, wherein sports persons from across the state will compete in various disciplines. With Nagaland Olympic and Paralympic Games scheduled to be held from August 22nd to 27, interested players under Zunuburu district have been directed to contact officials on or before 5th of August. Players are to contact Chief Demission Atoli Yepto, Deputy Chief Demission Hekudu Sema and District Team Manager David Sema for further details. Meanwhile, list of disciplines include archery, athletics, badminton, basketball, boxing, football, shooting sports, table tennis and wushu. Photographers of Zunaburo district on Tuesday held a meeting at Konheche Cafe with an aim to form a club. Notably, the members, after much deliberation, resolved that the nomenclature of the club will be Photography Club of Zunaburo. It further decided to relieve a nominal registration fee from every member and that the registration will be voluntary. Meanwhile, the club is set to hold its official launching program in September. Nagaland has agreed to use the center's financial assistance to create buffer stocks of pulses. Furthermore, Uttar Pradesh and Jharkhand will also create a buffer stock of pulses under the Price Stabilization Fund scheme in the 2022-23 July-June crop year. In addition, Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand and Nagaland have requested allocation of funds after the center had urged all states and union territories to create a buffer stock of pulses and horticulture commodities such as potatoes and onions. Notably, the government primarily uses the buffer stock for the public distribution system, midday meal scheme, integrated child development schemes, among others. Mogokchung Battalion Assam Rifles on Wednesday organized a lecture program for NCC cadets on the national flag as a part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav Har Ghar Tiranga campaign. 427 NCC cadets from different districts of Nagaland are currently undergoing combined annual training camp being organized at CRPF Camp Mogokchung. The event aimed at invoking patriotism among young people and to impart awareness on the national flag. Cadets were taught a correct way of using the Indian national flag display and hoisting as per the Flag Code of India. Concurrently, the battalion also enthralled the cadets with a mesmerizing band display at the event. NCC cadets expressed their appreciation towards Mogokchung Battalion Assam Rifles for organizing the event. Nagaland on Wednesday recorded 13 fresh new COVID-19 positive cases. Notably, 7 new cases were reported from Dimapur, 4 in Kohima and 1 each in Wokha and Chizang. With the new additions, a state's total caseload of coronavirus rose to 35,816, while the active caseload stands at 76. Well, amid the ensuing vice presidential elections, the Aam Aadmi Party pledged support to the opposition candidate Margaret Alva on Wednesday. Furthermore, the decision comes after the party leaders of Aam Aadmi Party met for a meeting on Wednesday. It can be mentioned here that earlier in the day, Jharkhand Mukti Morcha had also pledged support for Alva. Notably, the vice presidential polls are slated to be held on August 6. While the opposition parties have seated Alva for the polls, the ruling NDA has seated Jagdeep Dhangar as their candidate.
श्री अरविंद केजरीवाल जी ने और पीएसी के सदस्यों ने एक मत से तय किया है कि हम लोग उपराष्ट्रपति के चुनाव में श्रीमती मार्गरेट आल्वा जी का समर्थन करेंगे.
9 leaders were sworn in as ministers in the Mamata Banerjee-led West Bengal government on Wednesday. Singer-turned-politician Bapul Supriyo, who crossed over from the BJP to the TMC, was amongst the 9 leaders sworn in. Apart from Supriyo, Snehasis Chakraborty, Barto Pomik, Udayan Guha, Pratip Majumdar, Dajmul Hossain and Satyajit Burman took oath as cabinet ministers. Birbaha Hansta and Biplop Roy Chaudhary were sworn in as state ministers with independent charge. The reshuffle also comes in the backdrop of the removal of senior TMC leader Bardo Chatterjee from the cabinet. Chatterjee was relieved of his ministerial duties after his arrest by the ED in the massive SSC recruitment scam case.
धन्यवाद। सबसे पहले मैं दीदी को दूंगा, माननीय मुख्यमंत्री ममता दीदी को, जिस तरीके से उन्होंने मुझे इंस्पायर किया और दोबारा पब्लिक लाइफ पॉलिटिक्स में वापसी उन्होंने करवाया। और ये बहुत ही कोइंसिडेंटल, क्या कहूँ, बहुत बड़ा कोइंसिडेंस है कि 7 जुलाई लास्ट ईयर
The Enforcement Directorate on Wednesday sealed the National Herald office, putting forth instructions that the premises are not to be opened without prior permission from the agency. Additional police force have also been deployed outside the Congress headquarters in the national capital. The ED also sealed the Young Indian office at the Herald House building in the national capital. ED sealed the Young Indian office at the Herald House building in Delhi as no one was available in the office during the search, and thus they were not able to complete the search. The ED had raided the publication's head office and 11 other locations earlier on Tuesday as part of an ongoing money laundering investigation. Meanwhile, Congress MP Mallikarjun Kharge condemned the move of the government agency for keeping a tight vigil at Sonia and Rahul Gandhi's residence. The veteran leader said that using the government agencies, the BJP-led government is trying to frighten and demoralize the Congress workers, and all they want is run and one-party rule by breaking the democratic structure.
ना आप देखेंगे, हम सुना है कि पुलिस ने घेराव डाल के रखा है राहुल गांधी जी के मकान को और सोनिया गांधी जी के मकान को, और उनकी मंशा यही है कि एक दहशत पैदा करे, डराए और डरा कर सारे कांग्रेस पार्टी के कार्यकर्ताओं को डिमोरलाइज करे, और वो एक पार्टी की सत्ता चलाना चाहते हैं। इससे पहले भी आप सुना होगा कि उनके बीजेपी पार्टी के नेता ने ये कहा इस देश में एक ही पार्टी रहने वाली है, तो उसके तरफ वो जा रहे हैं और लोकतंत्र वो नहीं चाहते और संविधान भी नहीं चाहते, वो अपना रूल चलाना चाहते हैं।
And during the second half of the ongoing monsoon session of Parliament on Wednesday, the Rajya Sabha passed the National Anti-Doping Bill unanimously by voice vote. After passing of the Central Universities Amendment Bill 2022 by Lok Sabha, the lower house remained adjourned until Thursday 11 a.m. In the meantime, the Personal Data Protection Bill 2019, which had alarmed big companies, was withdrawn by Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw as listed in the supplementary list of business of the lower house for the day. Meanwhile, the Family Codes Amendment Bill 2022 is scheduled to be discussed for passing in the upper house later in the day. Following the Supreme Court's rejection of almost all objections raised against the Enforcement Directorate with regard to several powers, including initiating an investigation, power to arrest, and others, at least 17 opposition parties adopt the apex court's move as dangerous. Opposition parties on Wednesday issued a joint statement over SC's verdict and hoped that the verdict would not continue for long and constitutional provisions be initiated. The joint statement has been signed by representatives of the Congress, Trinamool Congress, DMK, Aam Aadmi Party, CPIM, Samajwadi Party, RJD, and other political parties. Early last week, the Supreme Court had reiterated the validity of a wide range of powers granted to the ED, as its verdict has been challenged by more than 250 petitions. Reportedly, opposition parties are set to approach the Supreme Court once again to review its verdict. 9 leaders were sworn in as ministers in the Mamata Banerjee-led West Bengal government on Wednesday. Singer-turned-politician Pappu Supriyo, who crossed over from the BJP to the TMC, was among the leaders sworn in. Apart from Supriyo, Snehasis Chakraborty, Bartu Pomik, Udayan Guha, Pradeep Mazumdar, Dajmul Hossain and Satyajit Barman took oath as cabinet ministers. Birbaha Hansta and Biplop Roy Chaudhary was sworn in as ministers of state with independent church. The reshuffle also came in the backdrop of the removal of senior TMC leader Bardo Chatterjee from the cabinet. Chatterjee was relieved of ministerial duties after his arrest by the ED in the massive SSC recruitment scam case. Well, speaking on this occasion of the 75th birthday celebrations of Congress leader Siddaramaiah at Davangere, Karnataka, Congress leader Rahul Gandhi on Wednesday slammed the BJP party for dividing people and spreading hatred in Karnataka. Rahul Gandhi, while addressing the crowd, stated that not only does he like Siddaramaiah as a person, but he also shares Siddaramaiah's views and share a special bond with him. Notably, Rahul Gandhi also appreciated the way the former Chief Minister of Karnataka ran the government, which was premised on the idea of fairness for all. In reference to this, Rahul Gandhi stated that it's completely different from what people see today in the BJP government. Rahul also further claimed that while the Congress government united the people and created harmony in the state, the BJP is dividing people and spreading hatred in the beautiful state.
I like the person Siddaramaiah ji, and I also appreciate the way Siddaramaiah ji ran the last government of Karnataka. Whereas the Congress government brought people together, created harmony in the state, the BJP government is dividing people and spreading hatred in this beautiful state. Of Karnataka can see the level of corruption that the BJP government has created. They bow their head in front of Basavanaji's statue and then they steal from the people of Karnataka.
The Enforcement Directorate on Wednesday attached assets worth Rs 415 crore of arrested Maharashtra's builders Avinash Posale and Sanjay Chabriabra in connection with the Yes Bank DHFL bank loan fraud. On Tuesday, the ED issued a provisional attachment order of Rs 164 crore belonging to Pasale and Rs 251 crore belonging to Chhabria under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. The federal agency took both builders into custody in June and they are presently under judicial custody. Both the ED and the CBI are investigating into the fraud linked to money laundering, and Yes Bank co-founder Rana Kapoor and DHFL promoter directors Kapil Wadawan and Tiraj Wadawan have been booked. The Wadawans and Kapoor are also placed under judicial custody. CBI alleged that Rana Kapoor hatched a criminal conspiracy to provide financial assistance by Yes Bank Limited to DHFL. The Andhra Pradesh government on Wednesday ordered a high-level probe into the gas leak in a garment factory that left over 100 hospitalized in the Anakapali district. Furthermore, the decision to conduct a probe was announced by Andhra Pradesh Industries Minister Gudivara Amarnath, and he ordered the closure of the company until the investigation in the leakage concluded. In addition, he also pointed out that it was the second instance of gas leakage in the past 2 months. More than 12 months after the post of India's Central Vigilance Commissioner fell vacant, Suresh N. Patel was appointed as the new Central Vigilance Commissioner on Wednesday by President Draupadi Murmu at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Patel had taken up the position of acting Central Vigilance Commissioner since June this year. Last month, the Press Trust of India informed about the approval of Patel as CVC by the selection committee headed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Patel's swearing-in ceremony was attended by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu. Patel has taken the position left vacant by former Indian Administrative Service officer Sanjay Guttari, whose tenure ended on June 24 last year. More than 20 Chinese military planes flew into the Taiwan's air defense zone on Tuesday as U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi began her controversial visit to Taiwan. Ireland's Defense Ministry said in a statement on Twitter that 21 PLA aircraft entered Taiwan's southwest Cadiz on August 2. Pelosi landed in Taiwan on Tuesday evening, defying a string of increasingly stark warnings and threats from China that have sent tensions between the world's two superpowers. The 82-year-old lawmaker who flew on a U.S. military aircraft was greeted at Taipei's Songshan Airport by Foreign Minister Joseph Wu. The tensions between Taiwan and China escalated after the U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan on Tuesday, which was followed by China announcing targeted military operations in several areas around Taiwan. Citing displeasure over Pelosi's comment on democracy during her visit to Taiwan, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Hua Chunying on Wednesday said that the visit of the U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to Taiwan is not about democracy, but about China's sovereignty and integrity. Earlier, Pelosi had stated that there is a struggle between democracy and autocracy in the world. Furthermore, she had mentioned China and said that the country uses its soft power in order to gain support. In addition, she urged the people to talk about Taiwan in terms of its technological advancement and show people Taiwan's courage to become more democratic. In the meantime, she also accused China for undermining democracy by citing Hong Kong as evidence. Meanwhile, the speaker departed from Taiwan on Wednesday. The United States and Indonesian militaries kicked off their annual joint combat exercises on Wednesday on Indonesia's Sumatra Island. In this year's combat exercises, more than 500 soldiers from the US, Indonesia, Australia, Japan, and Singapore are participating. The participating countries are fostering stronger ties amid China's growing maritime activities in the Indo-Pacific regions. The exercises have been designed to strengthen interoperability, capability, trust, and cooperation in support of a free and open Indo-Pacific. Commanding General of the U.S. Army Pacific General Charles Flynn and Indonesia's Military Chief General Andika Perkasa jointly opened the exercise at a ceremony. Combat exercises, which is scheduled to culminate on August 14, encompasses Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine drills. Indian judoka Dulika Mann reached the final of the women's 78+ kg category after defeating Cindy Andrews of New Zealand in the semi-final at the ongoing Commonwealth Games in Birmingham on Wednesday, assuring another medal to her country in this discipline. She is set to face Sarah Adlington of Scotland in the final match. Earlier today, Mann entered the semi-final of the women's plus 78 kg category after defeating Tracy Deron of Mauritius in the quarterfinals. And with that, we wind up our Nltv English Primetime. This is Chipeng Fung signing off. Thank you for tuning in.